Hey, what's up everybody? Trevor Adler here from AdlerStudios, and today I'm going to do a quick tutorial on how I process my astrophotography photos. Now this photo was part of a time-lapse sequence, which I'll show at the end of the video, and a few of you have asked me how I process it. So without further ado, let's get into it. So what you see now is the final results, and here we have the raw image. Quick note about the camera, I used an older camera just to show that even older cameras, less sophisticated cameras, can shoot really nice astro photographs of things like the Milky Way as you see here, if you know how to use the camera and if you know when and where to shoot. So quick on the where and the when. So this was shot in the Eastern Sierras, and when it was on a moonless night, so that's a new moon night, and that was in September. So I'm pointing the camera south, looking at the galactic mass. That's the prominent part of the Milky Way that is in, or that is visible above the horizon during the later part of the spring till the early part of the fall. After that, it goes below the horizon. So yeah, so let's get into the processing of this particular photo. So the first thing I do is I'll look at the color. I want it to look more like the human eye, so I'll take that down right around 4,000. And I'm not going to mess with the exposure, although I will bump the contrast up to about 50. I want the lighter areas to pop, so I'm going to bump the highlights up. I'll take the highlights up to around about 40, and the whites I'll do about the same, maybe a little less, maybe about 35. Shadows and the blacks, I'm going to go ahead and crush those, so I'm going to take that down to about -50. I'll do the same with the blacks. I don't really care about the detail that we lost in the foreground here. I don't mind the silhouette. The focal point is the Milky Way, so it's fine with me. Clarity, I'm going to do about a 5. Vibrance, we'll set it at about a 10. And we'll really make the colors pop with the saturation with an increase of about 25. So now we've got a lot more detail here in the galactic mass. We've got a lot more color. I'm going to go ahead and increase both of those by using the curves here. So I'll dip the blacks a little further down, and to make those lighter areas pop just a little bit more, I'm going to work on the whites up here at the top part of the curve. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to go to mess with the colors. I'm seeing some oranges, a little bit of green streaks here, and some purples. So I'm not going to mess with the hue or the luminance. I'm going to focus solely on the saturation. I'm going to bump the oranges up about 30, and the greens I'll bump up a bit more, probably about 50. The green streak that I was talking about here in the middle left side does some cool stuff, as you'll see in the time lapse, hopefully. We'll mess with the purples a bit, bump the purples up to about, yeah, 35, 40, somewhere in there. And yeah, so again, that's looking good. The colors are popping now. Not going to mess with the split toning. I will mess with the sharpening though. We can use this to sharpen the image up as well as get rid of some of the noise, excuse me. So I'm going to take that up to about 75 roughly. I don't want it to affect all the areas. I only want it to affect the areas with the finer edges. So by clicking on the masking tab and then the Alt button on the keyboard, it'll show me the areas that it's going to be affecting, highlighted in white. So as you saw when I first clicked it, the whole screen is white, and now it is only the stars and the outline of the foreground, which is the only area I really want that to be affecting. With the noise reduction, I'm going to increase the luminance to about 15 roughly. Contrast, I'll put that up around probably 20. And the color, which is going to affect your RBG, some of the noise that you see in the greens, the blacks, the reds, I'm going to bump this up a good amount, probably about 75. And so let's take a quick look at the before. So this is the before. As you can see, a lot of those greens and reds, a lot of noisy areas in there. Same thing up here, but particularly along the ridge right here. And so yeah, so that's the before, and That's the after. So it's looking a lot better. As far as everything else, I'll apply chromatic aberration removal. I'm not sure it's going to help too much. Maybe if you had zoomed in and you looked at some of the corners of some of the stars and stuff like that, but I'll do it just in case. It can't hurt. So on other photos, I definitely notice the difference and I'll use it, but for the most part, that's about it. So without further ado, well, actually, before I show you the time lapse, let's do a quick side-by-side. So yeah. Here is the raw image, and here is the processed image. So obviously the colors are popping a lot more. There's a lot more contrast and detail. Hold for the siren noise. Not sure if you guys can hear that, but there's a fire truck going by. Yeah, and obviously the color's a lot better. Now this is a bit more saturated than it looked to the human eye. I tend to add a little bit more saturation to my stuff. I like the pop personally. And as far as losing some of the detail here in the foreground, if I really wanted to give the foreground detail, I would have shot it differently, maybe added some light, etc. But again, the focal point was the Milky Way, and I wanted to see it move across the horizon. So that's it. And now, without further ado, here's the final result. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I'll try to do more of these in the future. And if you dug it, please like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.